All right, howdy everyone. My name is Dean. I'm a peer teacher at Texas A&M, and I just thought I would make a video on just various shortcuts and ways that you can make your work more efficient when you are just working as a computer science major, or just anybody who codes in general. So yeah, I mean, throughout a lot of my college career, I have really struggled with just like memorizing and learning keyboard shortcuts for a variety of things, whether that's in my terminal window or whether that's in VS Code, or even if it's just like the things I do every day, just like having to do it the manual way, like by dragging like in a GUI, stuff like that. It really does save a lot of time if you can learn the commands for it. And I feel like it's not taught well enough in the classes. So I'm going to try and help y'all to just figure that out. So I want to just preface with the fact that I have a Mac, as you can see. So if you have like a Windows machine, just whenever I say, there's only like really one difference between Windows and Mac for this tutorial. And it's if I say the command key, like sometimes I'll say command as part of my shortcut. That just basically means control key for y'all. But if I say control key for me, then that's also a control key for y'all. So yeah, I want to structure the video into like a few sections. So the first section is kind of going to be like an introduction to the terminal, like typing commands, very just like basic stuff. I'm going to be showing y'all like a directory structure, very simple directory structure, and how to navigate through there and move around files in there. I'm also going to be showing y'all the editing with the VIM Editor, and then working with C++, and then working in VS Code. So whichever section that y'all think you need to learn the most or want to watch, you can just go ahead and navigate to those parts of the video. Okay, so let's start with the first part, which is typing commands. Okay, so I have a very simple directory structure right here, actually, in my desktop. So there's this thing called base dir. We can double click into there, and we have this infinite loop.cpp, which I'll show you all later, a subdir1, and there's nothing in subdir1. So I wanted to just show you all what this looks like. Okay, so now we're going to open up a new terminal, and I want to show y'all this very handy command. It's pwd. So pwd prints your working directory. So as you can see, we are in users dino. Okay. Then I want to do this thing called cd. So cd is a way to change directory. That's what that means, change directory. So if you do cd space and then something else, which is the path that you want to go to, it'll bring you to that path. So let's do cd squiggle. There's also a very handy tool to go up and down. So you can go up, like you could hit your up arrow, and that'll hit the last command that you've done. And if you continue to hit the up arrow, you can just see, you can keep going back in history. And then if you hit the down arrow, you can reverse that and you can come back to where you were. So that's also incredibly useful if you don't know that. I've seen a lot of students like retype out their commands, especially if they're long commands. It can be so tedious. I'm always just like, you can hit the up arrow, hit the up arrow. So there's that. I want to also show y'all just like a sample sentence. Like this is just gonna, let's just say this is like some big command. Okay, so I am a big command. Okay, so there's a way that we can delete this entire line, and we can do that with -u, but we could also delete an entire word, just a word with Control W. Sorry if I said -u, I meant Control U. Okay, so Control W, we could just delete an entire word. We could retype it, and then if we hit Control U, it deletes the entire line. Okay, so now I want to also show y'all how we can open up a terminal at a specific directory. So the way that I have this set up is, at least for Mac, you have to go into the preferences for the Finder. Like you have to make the shortcut for this yourself. So what I did was I made it Control T. So whenever I have a directory and I want to open a terminal at that directory, I can just hit Control T, and that will open a directory right here. I want to also show y'all a command. It's called ls, ls is it just lists everything that's in the directory. So we hit ls and we see that we have an infinite loop.cpp and subdir1. Let's also do that here. As you can see, it matches. So that's what's in the directory. Now we're going to cd into the directory. So subdir1, boom. And now we can do ls and we see that, well, there's nothing in there. And that's, as we saw here, there's nothing in there. If you do cd dash will take you to the last directory that you were in. So instead of, like say you're in a directory and you cd into a path that's like somewhere else, like way somewhere else in the machine, and you want to go back to that original location, you don't have to keep you don't have to try like going back and back 1, back 2, back 3, and just trying to find your directory. You can just do cd dash, and that takes you, and it lists out the path for where you last were. So here we were in subdir1, but before that we were in the base directory. And so we did cd dash, that took us back to that previous one. And so as you can see, we're in there. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the subdirectory and I'm going to do something called touch. So there's this command called touch, and if you do touch, this basically makes a file for you. So we can do touch a.txt, or you can do b.txt. And what that is going to do is it's going to put a new file in our subdirectory. And there we go. There's that. That's very useful. And now I want to also show y'all how to move back one directory. Like if we're in a subdirectory, how do we move to its parent directory? And that's just going to be cd ... That's also very important. Very, very important to know. That's going to take us to the base directory. And now I want to show y'all this other command. It's called cat. And this is basically a way to view the contents of a file. So I'm going to do cat infinite loop.cpp. And now here's how I auto-completed that. I hit the tab key. That's it. I literally hit the tab key. That's also super, super useful. If you have multiple files so I hit the tab key when I was at the letter I. When I typed the letter I hit the tab key. But if you have multiple files that start with the letter I, you're gonna have to hit the tab key multiple times. And each time you hit it, it's going to show you a different file that starts with the letter I. And so you just have to keep hitting tab until, well, you get to your option. And so we hit cat infinite loop.cpp. And this is going to show us that we have, well, a very basic C++ program, which has an infinite loop that says howdy a bunch of times. So now let's go ahead and run this code. So to compile a C++ program, I'm sure you all know it's G++, and then you do infinite loop.cpp. You could also do -o and provide an executable name like test.out, or actually just test, not test.out, just the name, and it'll make that the executable name. But I'm just going to leave that out for now, and I'm going to have it make a.out. So that's the default, a.out. So now let's do a.out, and the reason I'm running this is because I want to show y'all how to quit out of a process that's running. So if we ran this program, it's going to do an infinite loop. I'm going to hit Control C, and that stopped the program. So I'm going to go ahead, and there's this wonderful command called clear, and that will clear our terminal. That's also very, very useful for when you have a bunch of output in the terminal. Make sure you are cautious with how much you use clear, because sometimes you'll need to see what an error says for a future problem, or you'll need to just have the information that was in the output for something useful. So really, just before you use clear, I would exercise caution. But it's sometimes obvious to use it, like in the case I just had with an infinite loop, or if you have a program that just does way too many cout statements or print statements, and you just want to get rid of that. Okay, now I'm going to show you all the make directory command. It's mkdir. So I'm going to go ahead and cd into subdirectory 1, and I'm going to do make dir subdirectory 2. And what this is going to do is it's going to, inside of our subdirectory 1, it's going to make the directory subdirectory 2. As you can see, we have a subdirectory 2. So we can cd into subdirectory 2 and show the contents, and there's nothing. I'm going to move back to subdirectory 1, and I'm going to show y'all how we can move a file into another directory. So in this case, we're going to move b.txt into subdirectory 2. So there's a move command. It's mv, very simple, and we're going to specify the file that we want to move. And by the way, this can be a path. It doesn't have to be a file name. It could be a path. So if we want to do like .. / .. we want to move 2 parent directories back, and it's found in that directory, we can move that too. We just have to like specify the location of this file. And the second argument is going to be where you want to put it. So in this case, we just want to put it in subdirectory 2. But if, for example, this directory was found in the parent directory, we could do that, and it would move it to that directory. So we're going to move the file. As you can see, it's now moved. It's removed from here, and now it's moved into here. Perfect. So now I'm going to show y'all how to delete this subdirectory 2 that we made. You have to do rm, and then you have to do -r, and then you have to do subdirectory 2. And that's going to remove subdirectory 2. No longer there. And that's that. Alrighty, so now I'm going to be showing y'all the VIM Editor. So the VIM Editor is a very confusing, but also very useful tool to edit the contents of a file from the command line. So yeah, the VIM Editor. So to enter into the VIM Editor, we're going to do vim space and then the file that we want to edit. In this case, I have an edit.txt file. So here we go. So the VIM Editor has 2 major modes to it. It has an insert mode and it has a view mode. So these are the 2 modes that we're going to want to know. Currently, we are in the view mode. So if I scroll, I will be able to easily just like go through the lines and view the contents of the file. As you can see, it's just kind of it's part of the Declaration of Independence. That's kind of the text that's in here, just some filler text. But normally this would be like a program or maybe a script or something like that. Okay, so this is insert mode. Sorry, this is view mode. To get into insert mode, you have to hit the A key. Okay, so now we are in insert mode and we can still scroll how we've been scrolling, but now we can just enter in text. We can enter in hello. And if we wanted to save this, we can hit the ESC key, escape, and then you hit :WQ. That means write quit, enter. That exits out of the VIM Editor, and now you have saved that new line of text. So that's the very basic usage of the VIM Editor. So let's go into some more advanced things. Say I wanted to delete that new line that I just made. You have to stay in view mode and you have to hit the D key twice. Boom. Once you do that, you can again just do WQ and exit out. Okay, so there's that. Say we wanted to copy and paste. To copy and paste, you would need to be into view mode, which is what we're in right now, and you would need to hit YY on the line of text that you want to copy, and then you want to hit P. And it will paste it right below the line your cursor is on. What if we wanted to paste it below this line? P. Pastes it right there. Okay. And if, say we wanted to undo that action, you would hit U. And U again. So you hit U and that undoes it. Now notice to copy and paste in this manner and to undo, we still need to be in view mode, not insert mode. And so we don't need to hit escape. We can just hit WQ and that'll take us right out. What if we wanted to delete 4 lines of text, or maybe, yeah, like 4 lines. We wanted to delete this line plus the next 4. We would have to hit 4 and then DD. 4 and DD. Okay, so that removed those 4 lines. Let's undo it. As you can see, those 4 lines come back. So that's how to delete multiple lines. Yeah. What if we wanted to delete from a line to the end of the file? So from here downward, we wanted to delete everything. We would have to do D-Shift-G. D-Shift-G. There we go. We would have to hit D-Shift-G. Okay. So now what if we wanted to find and replace? So to find and replace, we would have to still be in view mode, but we would have to hit colon, and then we have to do this. We have to do %S space / then the old thing that you want to replace. Let's do he. / again, and then the new phrase that you want to do. Let's do she. And then / G. Okay, so this is going to find and replace he with she. And it says 14 substitutions on 14 lines. And we can, again, hit U, and that puts it back to undo the action. There's also just one other thing. If you're on a line and you want your cursor to be on the end of the line, you could hit Shift $. And if you wanted to go your cursor all the way to the bottom of the file, you would hit Shift G. Shift plus G. And there you go. That gets you to the bottom. I should also mention that to copy and paste, you could also go into insert mode and you can take some text, say from the internet, copy it, paste it right in with Command V or Control V. And then of course to save that, you would go ESC WQ. Boom. So that's the basics of the Vim editor. And I think that's really all you would need to know. If you wanted to get more help, you could always just hit W or colon help, and then it'll show you all the different ways that you can learn this thing. So, all right, the last thing I wanted to show y'all is VS Code shortcuts and tips and tricks. So VS Code is the primary IDE that computer science students use at Texas A&M, at least that I know of. I've seen a lot of people use VS Code, so it's definitely worth learning this, even if it's not your primary go-to IDE. VS Code in general is like super useful. It has a lot of awesome functionality, lots of customability. You can get extensions as a debugger. It's just in general very good for a variety of languages. So I have a project that I worked on last semester open here. It's a Python Django project. It's called Jobs for Me. And I was going to go ahead and use this to showcase some stuff to y'all. So here's the layout of my Visual Studio Code in my workspace. As you can see, there's plenty of directories here with inner directories, and each directory has files and such. I'm just going to go ahead and limit the scope to just a few files here, models.py and urls.py. Just this area I'm going to constrain to. But if you don't already know, this is how VS Code looks. You have your file explorer, you have your search bar where you can search for things and replace things. You have your source control for team settings, the debugger, the extensions, and testing, and live share. Live share is incredibly useful. You can code in real time. You can code in real time on your project in VS Code with your teammates. It's just like Google Docs. It's like super useful. Firstly, where can we see the shortcuts for the keyboard? So Command K, Command S. Command K, Command S. There we go. Command K, Command S. That will give us the list of all of the possible shortcuts. Obviously, this is a crap ton. Luckily, you could type it in to search up which one you want. I'm just gonna go ahead and explain to y'all the ones that I use most frequently. So the first one is going to be finding files. You wanna know, how do you find a file? Well, it's gonna be Command and P, Command P. And then we can look it up, models.py. Oh, it found models.py, and we're already in there, but once it finds something, you hit enter, and it will open up a new tab. Okay, so what if we want to search for a word or just a key phrase in this file? We would do Command F, and you could look up literally anything and it will show you all of the possible instances. Now that is probably the most used feature that I think I've used as I've edited my code. It's just like finding in the file, find keywords. So there's that. And then we have global search, Command Shift F, and this will be able to, you'll be able to honestly just you'll be able to search for a keyword amongst all of the files. So it'll just show you where all of the instances of this word is. And you can go to a specific file, you can click on the instance in the file and it'll take you directly to there. So there's that. And then you can also do Command Shift H, and that's find and replace amongst all of the files. So if you wanted to, you could just do that, and then you can hit this button and you can replace all. I'm not going to do that though. Okay, so now I want to talk about how do we add a cursor below the cursor. What do I mean by that? Well, you can add a cursor here and here, and here, and here. So how do we do that? So it's Shift, Option, Command, down arrow. And now we have multiple cursors that we can do whatever we want with. We can type, we can highlight, we can do a bunch of stuff. Okay, so to click out of that, you can just click right out of that. Okay, so how do we highlight? How did I just highlight the words there? How did I highlight the words? I did Shift, Option, right arrow. Shift, Option, right arrow, and that highlights the entire word. And then we could Command C to copy paste, Command V, right, like that, Command C, Command V, and then we can do Option Shift left arrow, and we can highlight those two words, delete it, just like that. We could also go like this, beginning of the line, end of line, and this is just by hitting Command and then the arrow, Command left, Command right, and we could also highlight a letter instead of a word. So you could hold down Shift and hit the right arrow, and that will highlight P, and then you could hit it again, highlight H, for example. There you go, that's what we highlighted. And if we want to highlight the entire line, you can do Command Shift right arrow. This is incredibly useful. I've also used this a lot. Other than finding, this is probably one of my most used ones. And then the reason how I'm doing this right now, so what I did to highlight the whole line was Command Shift right. So I let go of all those keys now. There's nothing pressed down. But to highlight the next line below, I hit Shift. Hold down Shift, hit the bottom arrow. And then keep holding down Shift and keep hitting the arrow, and you'll highlight all the lines. If we wanted to highlight this line all the way to the end of the file, you would have to hold down the Shift and Command key. You don't let go of it. And then you would hit the down arrow. So it's Command Shift right down, Command Shift right down. And then you can do the same thing, maybe going upwards. So you can do Command Shift left up, and that will highlight everything that's above there. That's also very useful. That's very useful too. Obviously, I'm sure you all know you can undo an action. So if I copy pasted this line, but I don't want it, I could Command Z. There's also a way to copy and paste a line very easily. Instead of having to highlight the entire line and paste it below by going to a new line, you can do Shift Option down arrow. Shift Option down arrow. On my keyboard it says Alt. So for Windows users, it's Alt. Shift Alt down arrow, but yeah, Shift Option down arrow for me. We could also highlight, like we were saying, we could do Shift Option highlight and then Shift down. And by the way, to highlight the rest of this, I'm keeping holding down Shift, and I hit Command R. That highlights the rest of that line. We can do that. We can let go of everything, and then we can do Shift Option down, like we just did. And now we can easily copy paste those two lines. So what if we wanted to rename a variable? Say we're refactoring our code. We're making it look nicer, be formatted nicer, have less repetition. We want to decouple the code, right? That's refactoring. You do all those things when you refactor. And we wanted to rename this variable called username field. Maybe we have a better name for it. So we're gonna highlight the entire thing. I just double clicked it there. And then I did F2, and that is going to pull this up, and we can just, we could just rename it to whatever. Hit enter, and that will just replace all the instances of that variable name in the entire file. So that's a very easy way to rename variables. Say we have these two tabs open, and we want to just close all the tabs. In this case, it's only two, but say you have a bunch of tabs open in your open editors. You have just a bunch of tabs, and you just want to close out of all of them. To do that, you would just do Command KW. Command KW. There's also a way that we can switch between the tabs, going from left to right. By default, it would be Control Tab. Control Tab. So that's how we switch tabs. I know Google Chrome uses something similar to that as well. Okay, so now what if we want to mass comment a bunch of code? Like what if we want to just highlight, or what if we just want to comment out this chunk of code right here? We could do this, we could do that, or we could also do our Command Shift left arrow, and then we can just keep going up, holding down Shift by the way, doing that. Then to comment out all this code, we would do Command and then the /, Command /. And if we wanted to uncomment all of this later on, you could do the same thing, Command /. Okay, I also want to talk about how we can select multiple files in the Explorer here. Say we wanted to select admin and forms, and for example, we wanted to drag those two files into another directory. We can hold down the Command key, and then we can hit the other file, and then we can now drag those two wherever we want. We could also select consecutive files by, so we're on admin. If we want to select this and then all the way up to views, we can hold down the Shift key and then click views, and it highlights everything. We could rename a file by hitting enter. Just hit the enter key, the return key. We can also start a terminal at a directory. So say we wanted to start a terminal at this directory right here. To do that, we would just do Shift Command C. Shift Command C. Ignore that one. That starts a new directory. We can do ls, as we learned earlier, and we can see all of the stuff that's in there. As you can see, matches right there. Now there's also a terminal within Visual Studio Code itself. If you go to Terminal and hit New Terminal, you have this terminal right here. And when you do this new terminal, it does it in your selected directory, and you can see it here. And so you could also run the code just like you can in your normal terminal in this terminal. You could also, it's very nice because you just have to hit this plus button, and there's also a shortcut for that, which I would recommend learning. But that also opens up another terminal in the same directory, so you can have two processes running at the same time. And you could also very easily delete it. So very, very nice there. Lastly, I want to just introduce the debugger. So I'm not going to go into this in depth, but I'm just going to introduce it. If you wanted to run and debug code, you can hit this run and debug, and then what it's going to do, you select a Python configuration. So Python file, this is kind of the debug mode here. This locals on the side, you can see the values of the variables for the execution so far. When you're debugging, there are multiple things that you can do. You can step over, you can step into, you can resume, you can stop. So there's keyboard shortcuts for all of this, and it's very useful to know. So I'm actually gonna not explain that here. I'm just gonna show a page of all of the commands that you can use in the debugger. So here's that. So yeah, that's VS Code at a very basic level. I just shared shortcuts with y'all, and yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Just let me know if you liked it, if you want to learn more, and I really enjoyed it as well. I really enjoyed making this, so yeah, gig 'em.